I'm Mike Stein with Integrative Systems, and my colleague here is Stephanie. So today we're going to present on FutureProof Your Business with the Lights IBM. And the goal of this session is to talk about the sort of the business context of what the different pieces are to use this system going forward. How do you think about that? And, I was trying to think about it. It's the best way to kick this session off, and actually Hillary Hunter, who presented at the keynote, actually has some really good comments that I thought applied perfectly to sort of what the context of this is. So, she talked about the system, the IDMI system, as being uniquely end-to-end integrated. I think that's really an important factor as I think about, how to sort of leverage this system in a long-term way for your organizations. She also talked about it as being an extremely resilient and secure system, which is a really good place to start, right? To know that you're starting with a system that is just extremely secure, extremely resilient, and thinking about it compared to sort of what other options you might have for your business. The other thing she said that I thought was interesting is that, in their research, 70% of companies said that leveraging data is a top priority for the business. So when we talk about for these concepts of modernization, and we think about sort of the utility of the system and how your employees are using the system, and to optimize their sort of roles in the organization, leveraging data certainly is one of those things that seems to be a pretty high priority and pretty critical aspect of that. And I liked her comment about thinking about the system as legendary rather than legacy, right? A lot of times we talk about it in this context of legacy systems, legacy code, sort of technical debt. But I think that concept of legendary is kind of interesting. Maybe not as practical as some of the other ideas, but I think she said the platform is ready, is the team ready, and that's where we want to talk to you about some of those opportunities to make sure the team's ready for the future. So just briefly in introducing Integrative Systems, we've been sort of 25 years at this business of partnering with companies who are utilizing IBM technology in their business and providing sort of resources, services, consulting around how to get the most value out of the system. We also do some of these other areas, sort of turnkey around infrastructure, around data analytics, around security, resiliency. So we provide sort of a broad array of services for our clients operating on the I-Series. My name is Mike Stein. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Integrative Systems. I'll let Steph introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Stephanie Rabbani, and I'm Engagement Manager, Engagement Manager for Integrative Systems. I've been on the platform for over 20 years, doing modernization, web apps, and all sorts of development on the IBM. And I hope that this presentation can be interactive. I want your ideas and your feedback, what you are all doing, what you all want to do, plan to do. And I have this QR code for a fun survey. It's completely, there's no email addresses, and you could put a fake name. It's not for marketing. It's for my own personal enjoyment. I know it's kind of going to tie in at the end of the session. And if you don't want to scan the QR code, the URL is i.integrativesystems.com/survey. And it's just a fun survey just to kind of scan the audience and see what you all are using, working with, and kind of just what's going on in this room. And then we'll show the results of the survey at the end of the session. So please raise your hands. Please speak up. And yeah.
Good. So just give you a couple more seconds. If anybody else wants to click to take the survey again, it's just sort of a fun, interactive way to demonstrate some of the technologies that are available. So again, it's not we're not collecting data in any way. We just put a name or email address. It's really just for the purposes of this interactive demo. So let's give you another minute, and just while I'm doing that, I'll just say I'm going to go through the first 4 or 5 slides to talk about sort of the business side of this topic. And I know that a lot of you probably are decision makers, but you're collaborating with other people in your organization as far as decision making about where to invest, where to put your future in this technology. And so I'll talk a little bit about thoughts there, and then turn it over to Steph, and she'll talk about some of the real sort of issues, the technical side of what we're doing here. So, why does this matter? Why are we talking about this? Why do we think this is a worthwhile sort of topic to present at Common? And really goes down to this main topic of decision making around your system. So what we find is a lot of our customers, a lot of the companies that we're working with are sort of at this crossroads of thinking about this system, and can this become their sort of long-term business system for the future of their company as technology is evolving and everything. And I think for a lot of large organizations that are sort of constantly upgrading and sticking with the latest power versions, everything else, it's probably a no-brainer. But for a lot of smaller mid-sized companies, it does become a real important decision about your business. And so what we find is that there's sort of these three choices that companies are making, right? Do we replace the system? Do we go to a different type of ERP type platform? Do we just live with it? Do we just kind of make do? Or do we put the investment into upgrading it and making it sort of future ready to the company, and make this the business system that we're going to rely on for the next 10, 20 years for our organization? So this sort of guiding principle, IT strategy follows business strategy, is our normal approach with our customers. Let's understand first, what is your business strategy? What are the goals of the company, short term, long term, and then let's help put together the IT strategy that's going to help you achieve those business goals. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the Fortress surveys that they do every year. We sort of leverage it quite a bit for ourselves, just to sort of understand the trend of the market. Where are people thinking? Where are companies going? And some of these data points are pretty telling, pretty instructive in terms of this I-Series system. The thing that stood out the most to us when we looked at this is that it's a system that companies are continuing to invest in, companies are continuing to commit and rely on because of the resiliency, because of some of the legacy business processes that you develop. There's a lot in the system that's worth continuing with. It's worth, sort of drives your business forward, right? So a lot of companies put a lot of effort into sort of tailoring the system to meet your unique business process, and it actually becomes your competitive advantage, right? If everybody's on the system doesn't become a competitive advantage. It's just sort of a generic tool that everybody has. But with the I-Series, what we see is a lot of companies have leveraged the uniqueness, the unique capabilities of customization, and so it becomes a competitive advantage for you, some of your business processes and how you use the system. And so we see some of these kinds of sort of topics as being sort of validation that this is a good system and it's a system worth investing in. But there's challenges, right? There's challenges in terms of resources. There's challenges in terms of expertise. And so how do you sort of get the good out of the system, knowing that there are some of these challenges? And so a lot of its presentation will be to help you think about that. Again, we're not going to answer all the questions and give you the future in 45 minutes, but at least put some thoughts out to you that you can think about and maybe use the rest of the week to explore other possibilities. So I'm gonna leave the live with it option out because there's really not much to talk about there. But I want to talk a little bit more about this sort of binary choice of replace it or modernize it, right? And so when we talk about replacing the system, what you're really talking about is an entirely new ERP system. Maybe probably some new hardware, maybe some partners, new technology partners. But you get this idea of a future-ready system that you might be thinking about. Hey, if I go to a new ERP, SAP or Oracle or one of these, I'm getting already a future-ready system, right? Because that's sort of designed in that way. It's being presented in that way. But it will require you to change how you do business, right? Usually, when you go with a new system like that, you wind up. One of the first things they say is, hey, you have to tailor your business process to the way the system operates, right? You're going to get these sort of best practices that are already designed into the system. And so then you wind up having to sort of think, all right, well, how do we adjust our business process to align with this new future-ready system? The other thing that we hear a lot of, and I think you probably hear a lot of too, is that the initial, proposals for cost, effort, time, whatever, are very rarely met, right? So you have to be ready for additional employee resource commitments, training, learning, discovery, again, this process changing. And so while you get this future ready system, there's a pretty significant investment, not just immediately in terms of cost and time, but also in sort of employee retraining and recalibration. So some pros and cons there. Obviously, I'm sort of leaning the other way towards the Modernize as sort of an option really worth considering, right? Because you get to keep a lot of the things that make your business unique. Some of these business practices that you've been able to tailor, to get your competitive advantage. So you get to keep all of that. You get to keep this incredibly resilient, secure system. And I mean, I think a lot of times those of us who maybe are familiar with this system and have operated on it forget that it is just uniquely secure. It's uniquely resilient compared to a lot of the other types of systems out there. And so you get the benefit of keeping that. And you can leverage, even this morning, we were being given some ideas about what IBM is doing to invest in the system. It is not a system that is old. It's a system that's continually refreshing, and technology is continuing to evolve in terms of, getting the maximum value. So you get that IBM investment in future tech. Of course, you still have this question of, okay, that's all well and good, but what about resources? What about what about my capability to maintain and operate that system? Will I be able to not just use the system, but will I be able to maintain it, within the resources that I have in my organization? I think that's a fair question. I think that obviously the organizations like COMMON, like IBM, are investing in that. And I think they, you can see that they realize that that's a challenge as well. And organizations like Integrative and other companies that's what our job is to provide resources and provide for companies that need that extra sort of resource effort. So I guess the point is that there are options out there. So the three risks that seem to be the biggest, I'm not sure what that was. That's apparently there's a very big, I guess that's a Norwegian risk that we to be aware of. That's what the go there. Yeah, there. But anyway, I think it's people. People, yeah. So I think there's this. It's interesting that Nori said this. This idea of legendary versus legacy, right? It is seen as a legacy system. I think a lot of people perceive this system as being sort of this. Hey, that's the old way. Now let's go with the new way. But that's really just not the case, right? I mean, you're here. You see what IBM is doing to invest in this platform, and not just in terms of people, but technology and development. And so I think that idea of legacy is a misnomer. I think it's a system that can be built on. It can evolve and is evolving. I think that middle one is people, which is the number one concern that we talk about. Skills gap. Skills gap is ideas. You translate?
What? No, looking at your slide gap. Oh, skill gap. Okay.
Thought maybe you were in the time. I'm not sure I'd be. Yeah, skills. Thank you. So skill gap. So yeah, people, but that idea of skill gap, I think is one of the main perceptions of both informally and formally, right, through the survey data, that this is just true. It's a system that's been around for a while, and so a lot of the folks who were at the forefront are retiring. But that doesn't mean that there's not a new generation, and it doesn't mean that there aren't partners out there who can augment and give you that that resource that's needed. And then the data, which I didn't realize that's what she was going to describe as the number one issue, but that is a lot of time that you see that is the number one issue, is how do I run business if I can't evaluate what's happening in the business? If I don't know, if I'm not getting reports and dashboards and sort of analytics that tell me what's going on, well, how do I make good decisions, right? How do I make good business decisions? And so I think as we talk, and as Steph talks about some of the tools that are available and the sort of the ideas about future proofing, these are the things that we'll want to cover as well. So I'm gonna transition now to Steph. I think this is another shot at that QR code. If you didn't, you didn't get it, so we just want to give you more chance to sort of participate in this fun survey. And then this introduces the topics that Steph is going to go through in terms of how do we start to deploy resources or technology to give you this future-proofing option? As I'm handing this off, any questions so far at this point? Great.
Awesome. Is it fine? Great. Okay. Awesome. Great. So I'm always wanting to talk about the technical. That's my lane. So we're going to talk about all the different little aspects here, future-proofing opportunities, some of the larger and smaller and larger options, but we have each of these items. And then I'm hoping that if there's something that you're doing or that you're interested in, and I'll have on these slides, please share, because this is at the opportunity. Point on compass. Yes. Okay, great. So future-proofing a database. I know that, a lot of the data that you have on your systems have been around for a very, very long time. I've seen so many different waivers of interesting data from multi-number files to, people are creating old code files like back in the day that now it's kind of hard to maintain. So there's a few different ways that we can start to future-proof this data that we have. Number one would be the SQL. So we have all this DDS out there. We have all these not strange, but it's 7-digit dates and just stuff like that. We can start to transition those ABS files to SQL. So there's a lot of free tools. Using ACS. There's with AI, of course, there's going to be start to having those conversions be a lot easier. But kind of that small effort is that those big tables you can take and make those DS SQL, and then you start to have those vector indexes. You start to have the speed. You start to have the data types that can really kind of make that data more usable and more readable by all sorts of programming languages. A medium type effort could be an off the box synchronization to another database, to another layer. So there's lots of ODBC connectivity that you can use. You can use Power BI, IDMI data. There's SQL transformation. There's APIs. So you can take that data and you can kind of whatever specific types of data you need or specific kind of reports that you need, you can synchronize that using ODBC or APIs. And then, if you have large amounts of data, millions of transactions, you might want to use something like a data lake, Microsoft Fabric, Amazon, all the different kind of flavors of data lake you have out there that is built for those massive amounts of data, and that is built for machine learning and artificial intelligence. So it is a larger effort, but completely an option on this box. Is there any questions out there or any other ways that people are kind of working with their data or getting the data in any way? Cool. We will move on. So code. So we have the data. I consider the data the most important. The second most important would be code. You have these processes that are doing your accounting, that are allowing you to input orders, that are allow you to maintain customer relationships and vendor information. You have all of this code that has been operating also for possibly 20 to 30 years. And it is, as we know, Spore is hiring. So it has become a bit of a behemoth. It's become possibly hard to maintain. There's probably not a lot of documentation. So the first kind of step is documenting the code. That's a small effort, and that's the effort you could go home at night and start to do with documentation tools out there. AI is getting very good at reading your code and documenting it. You can create AI instructions on what information you want out of your database or out of your code, and it can organize it, document it. You can put it into Markdown. You can put it into Wikipedia or wikis, your own wikis, so that you start to have information on your code, so that people can start to understand what programs are out there and how they're being used. Medium effort would be, okay, we have this System 36 code, we have this RPG2, United Fixed format everywhere. It is hard to read, it is hard to work with. So the medium effort would be starting to incrementally update .exe format code to free format. It's easier to read. There's also course, and probably attended many sessions over the years of modules and service projects, refactoring that to make the big monoliths a bit more modular. So like we called in the future by things like APIs and kind of other interfaces that want to use that code and get that information, that business logic out into more modern language or more modern interface. And then the large effort, I'm sure everyone here has considered it, is RPG to X. Yep, type on C#, whatever it is taking that and just wholesale converting it. There's tools, they're extensive, but but it's possible. People have done it. But there's AI assistance, but record level access to SQL, I'm sure you guys know, is not one-to-one. It's going to be complicated. But the challenge becomes is that the day that you write everything else in Java, 3 days later, that code becomes legacy because, there's always going to be new versions of any language, any piece of code, new development, new developers. So, is RPG, do we need to go off RPG? Not necessarily. We've got lots of tools and lots of kind of opportunities to modernize that. But some people choose that.
So let's say you are in the middle. You already have made this video map. What's the advantage of growing whole a motor hard PL for some other that even cannot do it?
Yeah, I would say that if you are at a free format level that is modular using server program, right, I wouldn't recommend it.
But you use Java with the
Sure.
right.
Exactly. Yes. The moment to have that business logic readable and usable by the programs, you can call it. You can call it from all those modern languages. You can just call it, and you can even within RPG itself call Java. You can call Python from CL. So you can integrate those two together. So you're exactly right. As soon as you have that RPG in a format that makes sense to the people in your company, and that is, that you're able to iterate on pretty quickly, then you can, I think you're now already at a level that you can kind of jump from there and integrate other languages. Good point. 6.
So what would you say if somebody would argue that, that medium effort is really closer to the large effort?
So yeah, with the medium,
because when you do the upgrade of the free format and everything, you have to do just the same amount of testing added due to another language. So your testing flow would be very similar because you're chasing code.
Sure. So the point is your testing low is going to be very, I'm just repeating it for the big film again, but your testing low would be almost similar, but could be a very large effort to convert your RPG to free format. I will push that slightly in that in free format, you can still use record level access. So it is a pretty one-to-one conversion. So it's not as dramatic as saying, okay, now I'm just doing a read on a table and now I do selects from where da. So it's a bit less large. And you can also do, rather than, RPG to another language, you have to do it all before it works together. RPG fixed to free, you can do a program at a time. And in this module, let's do this. And I will say that with a kind of a good advanced tool like Bob, it's going to make this conversion of fixed to free a lot simpler. And we'll mention AI later. you're going to have to do a lot of verification, and to your point, a lot of testing. But that is your opportunity also to write those unit tests over that code, because from my experience in working on hundreds of IBM jobs, there's not a lot of unit testing in your code. So part of that effort of the kind of future-proofing your code is writing those unit tests, and that can be done a module at a time. So AD 1, 2, 3 RPG program becomes AD 1 to 3 program. They're the same program. One's in fixed, one's in free. Now we can, hopefully they have 2 systems, and we can create those tests and make sure that those outcomes are the same. So it can be large when you look at a large pull base, but you can do it gradually. Good. So user interface. This is like the third layer, but obviously one of the most impactful layers for your users. There a lot of people coming new to the platform don't want to see gray and black. So we have been talking about this as long as I've been on the platform, is getting that new user interface showing to the user. So the small effort is the screen scraper. I'm sure you probably should help that product. It is a product. It helps it just helps you get it into a browser. Rather than green and black, it's white and black, and it has buttons instead of function keys. It helps. But you still are kind of mostly limited to that 24/80 structure. You're kind of, and your function keys determine the buttons, but still the flow is not possibly what you would love it to be. So the medium effort is what I would say is a web front end to your RPG backend. You can have RPG APIs that are just kind of calling those modules that you've refactored. You could have, PHP and Python can also follow those modules. So all those web programs can call your existing RPG as in its logic. We're connecting directly to BB2 as you like to do. And you can have whatever web front end that you like. We like, React these days, but there's lots of ways to kind of get that nice interactive front end that you would want to see. And then you can also incrementally do this one page at a time. You can kind of, that order search that is like, you have to like add 4 and what's this thing? And you can just have you can search by any field as an order. You even have hundreds of rows of data, and you can click on order, pop up in serial order. It's not difficult anymore with all of the options that we have. And then the large effort is completely rewriting your base business logic on or off the box. You can rewrite it all in all the good old web languages. Some shops choose to do that because they don't feel comfortable manipulating their RPG, or they don't have that skill set. So you can, obviously, you can change it to Python, PHP, Java, X, Node. And then you can connect directly to that database using LVBC or any of the draggers that you have available. So you can create those web programs. You can create random programs from scratch that don't use any of the RPG, but you can imagine new programs. So that there might be a need for that. But all of these the goal is that your workforce now is able to use your system in an easy way, and you're able to train those new people to, function well on your editor. Am I missing any options, or anybody done anything cool, or go ahead?
About the third option there, have you used Mapaya or
Unplay Mapaya? Are you?
Yeah, because I used it. I mean, it already installed the local. But that is replacing all the PC. Some dicing up all the away from most PC. But I did it to IBM with COMMON. What they were talking about it in the opening set.
Yes. So going to make Pyre replacing ODBC. I had not run it in that manner yet, but I would be interested to chat more about that because that's interesting. there's, we've got the NCP servers available. We can talk about all the upcoming forefront AI options, but there are lots available on our box. So infrastructure, we've gone down to the low level again. I have to mention it because this is critical to maintaining the continuity of our business. Is backup, is high availability. Hopefully, I don't have to talk too much about this. So I'm not an expert, but should have it. There's also a disaster recovery cloud options so that you can have, and further talk about in the opening session, they have the power. There's also other cloud providers. So you even have that copy of your box living on as a server that you can transition over to that within, there's a disaster. It's a very good way to future-proof your infrastructure. And I will have to talk about keep management because I'm still to this very day, probably only about 30 to 40% of the companies that I work with have any kind of change management. So highly recommend, makes my life easier. But there, I know we can call them developer library, but it's so nice to have a history of who made what change when. We can use Git. Git RPG works great. You can use continuous integration and delivery with pipelines. That's all these modern tools that developers that you hire, those you can use on our system, including automated testing. And there's lots of vendor packages. There's lots of vendor steer that do change management that has great tried and true packages. So, for future-proofing infrastructure, it's just my top recommendations. So many clients I've had that have accidentally compiled with production, and it's just really makes that. Any case? Yeah.
Could you elaborate on their partitions for safe stage rollouts? Because our front end team, which is Java, sort of does that where they got multiple servers and they roll out features gradually. Whereas the RPG side, everything's in production. So
yeah,
go or no go.
Sure. And whatever. So your comment is that, the Java teams are able to do both staged rollouts on different partition in the RPG program and it's a rate production. It's an infrastructure to set up process. So you can have slices of IBM cloud, this little or as big as you want, and you can have the open environments set out. You can have that automate. It's more of a process issue than a technology issue. You know what I mean? So it's like those RPG programmers are just used to rolling cowboy style. And, it's just a matter of changing that process. So you can get pulled onto a cloud server, compile. You can run your automated tests on that cloud server, all on IBM I. It's just a matter of setting up those processes, and it's tricky. I definitely. Is anybody doing that kind of staged rollouts that want to share anything about that?
Yes. Technically, we have dev, QA, and tried on the same part. Sure. Yeah. Because of libraries and library lists, you can control those different environments. So it's easy you don't need multiple LPAR to do it. You do a partition that the outer security set up correctly and your library list set up correctly. Right. So you can have it all in the same partition or on the same server if you have a good security system set up. But it's not nothing to me is as secure as just running something on a different partition because it's just nobody can help getting that set up.
Yeah. So we do that. We have multiple partitions, and we also have a DR box that we'll do like QA testing on because we can restore that DR box to production, and then do a tested deploy basically, of as live data as we can get. One thing I dislike about it on the IBM I is that we have to license every piece of software. for every partition. So like, all of our open source development it's free to spin up another Linux box as long as you have hardware.
Yeah.
But for the IBMI, if you want all of your tools to work on every application, you have to pay for it multi-partition.
Yeah. That is a good point. So yeah, you've got fault partitions, and as we are
The advantage of just doing library dev is that software's all in that one box. You don't have to pay for the software twice, but it is a little less.
there's licensing costs. So yes, having all my box is save money, but for this, I used to get people to roll out and test almost different partitions. Yeah, thank you. Okay, great. So hardware, another one that I will mention without being an expert, but Power 11 is incredibly powerful box. We'll see in our survey what power level people are on, but these power systems, the operating systems are being executed on certain power levels. So it's nice to keep up with your hardware. And then we have, of course, and we'll probably hear more about this at the conference. I've read about it, but not used it yet, is this Spire AI Accelerator on the Power 11. So that'll kind of be able to run those AI workloads on our system very efficiently and very powerfully. And then, this zero downtime that they're talking about is becoming more and more a reality with these Power 11 boxes. Is anybody here on Power 11? I'm curious. Oh, that's okay, great. They are very new, but congratulations. It's great.
11, 10, 9, 8.
Excellent. Okay, so this is like a very big concern. Our people are retiring. Our experts are retiring. Our knowledge base is retiring. So we need to keep this. We need to keep the knowledge and the information system going for people that we hire. So, oh my gosh, I can't hire RPG developer. Well, you can train a RPG developer. I've seen it. I started on the IDMI at Beshman 2 in ECD tech support, and I brought the IDMI new job. And so you don't have to hire for RPG experience. You hire for someone who's willing to learn, someone who has aptitude and been trained. There's training programs available. With AI, that knowledge is accelerated through kind of using those tools. So you can cross-train your existing people. So our people, you can know, blah, blah, blah. Come on over to the AI and, connect to our database and cross-train. We do have the modern tooling, which I'll mention more on a different slide, but we have this modern tooling so these new developers don't have to use SEU. And you can also outsource. So there are lots of companies here, including us, that have expertise that you can use to solve a problem, or you can use to kind of outsource for specific solutions and things that you need, so that you don't have to hire someone and then fire someone, but it keeps us outsourcing. Yeah. So, okay, great. So I just wanted to show a quick little transformation just based on kind of, what we've been working on for clients. We've got, you guys have all seen kind of what's out there, but I just wanted to show you this. So this is a React application based on one that we did for a client. So this would be this is the client's old customer search screen, and it's so people coming in, customer service coming into this company of our time, figuring out how to find customer. They have F3 is new. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's done something a different way 30 years ago, and then it's is tricky to learn. So then we took that green screen application, we made it, we extracted business logic, made it callable, and we created this React search application so that you can search by any field in the application, any field in the stable, and it'll find it. And then you can work with the customer, with all of this information. You got drop downs, you got lookups, you got mapping. So this is just using RPG as our back end and React as our front end to kind of to just modernize that user interface. In the process, we're modernizing RPG a little bit to kind of make it callable and enable modular. So this is kind of, I just like a visual. Thingy. Okay, sorry, we went email that kept thingy. All right. Okay, full. So I wanted to mention tooling a little bit more, just in hopes that while you're using it, in hopes that you're promoting it within your organization, because it is so cool and so powerful once you start using it. So I'm sure you all know about VS Code and the IBM development pack, but hopefully you're using it. So the IBM development pack comes with a whole bunch of, it comes with the classic IDMI extension that you can connect your IDMI and work the code, but it comes with a whole bunch of the community is working on all these extensions all the time. So there's tons of cool screen editing and code documenting and connecting kind of extensions that work in with these with the IBM development pack. The Canute extensions are coming up all the time. And also, once you have that code in Visual Studio Code, you can bring in your favorite AI chat screen or editor. You can start to read that code. You can start to iterate on that code in a modern development tool. So I'm hoping that you're encouraging this for your young people and yourselves. And then, of course, as Project Bob right now looks exactly the same as VS Code, but it's IBM's IDE. I'm sure you've all heard about it. But it's kind of the same right now, but it's also being iterated on by IBM, so that you can open up those source members directly, edit directly on the IDE that's coming in, I think, in Bay County. Right now, it's almost exactly the same, but these are modern IDEs that your programmers will want to use, and the young people that you train probably shouldn't see SEU. They don't need to see SEU. You can compile and debug directly from VS Code. Any questions or any cool extensions that anybody's using or tips? Yeah, please.
VS Code has there's one for job logs. So it'll actually parse a job log. It'll highlight any errors, any warnings, give you like a whole document tree breakdown of it. Makes it very quick to find issues.
Okay, great. Job log kind of extension that parses and rates and job logs. So awesome. Love it. I don't think I used that one. So good tip. Thank you. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys want you can put dehydrate out. Get inundated with air. However, it is helpful. It is helpful in prototyping. I don't know if anybody's had tried prototyping with it. It's really fun. It creates it's really great. The web languages creates those for you. It's good at starting your test writing journey. It doesn't write all the tests you need necessarily, or sometimes it writes just to pass, but it's good for that. It is good for running automatic things like code linting. If you have a specific set of standards for RPG, especially free format, it can lint the code for you. You could say, I need and that spaces up your net, whatever. And it is good for just scanning, documenting, version control. It is very helpful in kind of a lot of grunt work that we're doing that we don't necessarily need to do as much anymore. Where we need to be careful is that we are still responsible for this code. So AI is going to generate code and it's like, poof, and then we're going to go have a copy. But we need to review this code. I have many friends in this and other industries that are pushing this code and have to refactor it. They're not factoring in this time. They're not doing the proper verification. It is, I mean, you hear AI swap, like that does quite a good job, but it doesn't take into all counts of everything in the business and the kind of scalability, the security that you need. You need to please verify this code. You gotta realize that it's pre-use test pass. AI wants to make you feel smart, and it wants to create things that work. So it will create test paths. It won't catch edge cases sometimes. It'll tell you you have a brilliant design, but you need to review it with your coworkers. You need to review it with anybody. You need to review these things so that you're not kind of letting some sloppy things go through, because then now you're creating more legacy. Yeah, and that's a security liability if you're not don't have some standards and some processes in place for these things. Input of anything to add, please. So, is this yeah, okay. We when I started in this on the system in 2002, which is a wildly long time ago, but like it feels like yesterday. I'm started and people around me were like, this thing's him go away within 5 years. And I was like, well, good job. So this has not gone away. This seems to be growing. It's crazy to me still, but it's great. This reliable, scalable system has been moving with the times, even though not all of our companies have been able to or willing to. The system is moving with times. So, we have these kind of, I'm sure a lot of you had this situation where a new CEO of the company comes in, like, what's this? So, they'll say, like, what is this? This is a legacy system. Like, what are we doing here? Let's get into it. I secure whatever. But, there is tons of innovation going on in systems, and we're finding out it's actually perfectly positioned for AI. There is the question of, the vendor lock-in and all those packages and the licensing. This is true. But we also run all the open source languages on this system. We can start to write some of those tools ourselves. IBMIs seem to be like isolated, doesn't integrate, but it does. It's got million ways to create guys now. There's just a million ways, including just even write ACIs and SQL. It's good stuff. ODBC drivers, all kinds of drivers. So it can connect to pretty much anything. The talent question is a real question, but with the tooling and the training and tooling, you can actually generate that talent within your organization. And it's the box itself, you just buy it. It's whatever between 50,000 and 100,000. Some seems like I'm buying a Windows machine that's $500. It seems too expensive, but the value is there once you start. Like true story, I had a client who was not on the IDMI. He was using AWS and Plug. They were paying $20,000 a month for their development. So I was like, well, okay, we're not so expensive. So we actually do have an ROI advantage that we just need to because these boxes last so long.
I scooped this one. I want you to do your demo.
Oh, Okay, but the never cover it. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, we've done full things. So, we've done modern UIs coming. We've done some power dashboards. We've done anyway. We just wanted to talk about some of the cool things that could be done. We've done, but current booze checks out. We're buy the food. So where do we go from here? We need to have a bit of a plan. You can inventory your code. You can see where you're at, operating system wise, and where you're at staffing wise. Then the next step is to build a roadmap. So what's our priorities? Where's our biggest growth challenges? Where's our biggest concerns? Where we're spending the most time? You build your roadmap. The SQL question, the code question, the stack question. You need to kind of consider all these questions and make somewhat of a nimble plan. And then that's when you can kind of do your investments. It's time to kind of embrace this moment and this momentum that we have, and get those tools going. Check Bob out. You start to do some code analysis, or you call us. We'll also help you, pretty much. So, any questions on this? The survey results are in. Let's see. Okay. So, I just wanted to mention first before we get to the survey, this is an RPG backend React frontend application. If you want to check, do you want to see the code or talk to me about it? Come to the booth. But you can kind of see. I was just going to show you. React RPG APIs to DB2, and it's got some just SQL RPG programs and some React components. That's pretty much how this particular survey is built. And then /results. Okay. So in our ring, we have, this is great. We have the majority of people here have more than 5 programmers in the shop. So I'm surprised. That's cool. And most of us are on V7 R5. No one's tried out V7 R6 yet. That'll look good. One of these 7 words. But it's gonna happen. And okay, update user interface. Okay, this is a nice, interesting split. Well, some people are using just green screen, couple screen scrapers, web programs, and then web programs out the box. Okay. You should stay. Okay, favorite programming languages. So most of us are RPG because this is a box and this is what we do. Likes to Java, but we've got a nice split of all the open source languages. Does anyone want to mention another programming language? Yeah, please.
Lua, C, stuff like that.
Lua and C. Okay. Yeah, Chris.
Cool.
Cobalt. Yeah. I thought the favorite. Cobalt's favorite is like a hot take. Okay. What types of RPG? Oh, we have 6 people that work with Cobalt. Okay, awesome. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. We got a bit of System 36 code. RPG degree split between ILE and free format. Cool. And then 6 Cobalt. Interesting. Okay. What's your change management like? Yeah. Okay. Got. This is actually more packages. This is more kind of change management than I thought there would be. So we got some vendor packages, which is great. We got 1 Git person. Excellent. Dead library. Classic. Okay, great. Okay. Oh, I looked at that. That's cool. Okay. I expected more lower powers, but we're good. Most of us are in a power 10. With a few power 9s. So that's great. I like it. Okay, so the bell notes, REI. Okay, see, I'm always surprised. REIs, the you kind of the number one here, but there's some good splits. A CEO already updates poll. One other executive I mentioned something else I'm missing. Doesn't matter. Real purple fuss. Okay, cool. Cool wins. There are wins. All right. Okay, so what's the top priority? I'm gonna throw. I want modernization, leading people, writing about strategies, modernization, information modernization. Okay, yeah, well that makes sense. And did anybody have any questions or comments or information? Come meet us. We're gonna have a chocolate taste test at the booth. Come see us, please. American versus Canadian chocolate blind take sets. And yeah, and anything question, Gabby? Right. Thank you guys. Thanks for.
Do you have a question?
I was just going to say,
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say that I've come up with this analogy lately. So when we talk about like legacy and, when the boss comes in and they look at your system, they go, what is this? And we got to get off of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's, there's PlayStation. So I try to put this in the terms that people don't, or that tech people understand. So you have a PlayStation 1 and you have a PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 isn't a crappy legacy system just because there was also a PlayStation 1. And the difference is that PlayStation 5 in our instance can still play PlayStation 1 games. And we have so many developers that are like, we got a PlayStation 1 game. Why do we need to create a PlayStation 5 version of it? And so you come in and you're like, this is a terrible experience and I hate everything about it. But the power of the system is that you can still run those. But you can also do the latest and the greatest and get the most out of the box if you have the people and the dedication to do it. So,
Awesome.
so try to,
PlayStation.
the system is very powerful.
They're powerful. We got those PlayStation 1 games still knowing, but we can run the latest and greatest. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.